Welcome back. Asheville, North Carolina, still reeling 6 months after Hurricane Helene devastated the region. The city is estimating $1 billion worth of damage to public property and more than $17 million in lost revenue. Approval of its $225 million federal disaster recovery grant is contingent on the action plan that it must submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. But their draft includes DEI criteria, with the city saying that the impact of disasters is often disproportionately borne by vulnerable populations, including low to medium income households, marginalized communities, persons with disabilities, and other underserved groups. Joining me now in this Fox Business exclusive is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner. Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for being here this morning. Good to see you.
Well, good morning, Maria. Thank you for having me.
What do you want to say about Asheville and the DEI programs? Where are you in this recovery plan?
Well, you know, my team and I, we're grateful to be here in Asheville. But as you alluded to, this draft action plan that the city of Asheville presented at first has elements of DEI in their draft action plan, and that is not acceptable to HUD. It's not acceptable to the president, according to his executive order, to get rid of all DEI. And so we're working with the city of Asheville. They have been very responsive to make sure that their upcoming draft action plan is in compliance with HUD and how we give funds out according to HUD's principles. And so we're happy to be here. They're working with us, and we're looking forward to helping the people of Asheville recover from this disaster.
Well, you've got a lot of priorities, I know, Secretary. And I want to ask you about the homelessness crisis in our country, the opportunity zones. I know that I'm glad that you're picking up the opportunity zones. Under President Biden, we didn't hear a lot about that, right?
Yeah, you know, the Opportunity Zones was a very impactful policy initiative during the first Trump administration. I had the honor of serving with Dr. Ben Carson to lead the Opportunity Zone effort. 1 million people in our country during that time were lifted out of poverty. New housing was built. New operating businesses came about. Foundational things were built for families, for long-term sustainability. And, you know, housing prices went up without rents going up in Opportunity Zones. And so I'm looking very much forward. We're working with Congress, Senator Tim Scott, the president, and others to expand Opportunity Zones as we look at this affordable housing crisis in our country. And so not only did we have a good start to Opportunity Zones, but I believe that this second go-around will be even better.
Well, I mean, look, you're dealing with new rules and regulations that were put in place under the Biden administration after President Trump tried to unleash growth here. Mr. Secretary, you eliminated an Obama and Biden era zoning rule, right, which President Trump said would destroy suburban neighborhoods across the country. It requires HUD and those receiving federal housing funds to combat discrimination and push for access to fair housing. Walk us through it. Why did you make the decision, and tell us where this is going in terms of the housing market and supply that is needed?
Well, Maria, you're exactly right. We all know that there's a housing affordability crisis in our country, and a big part of that is burdensome regulations, including the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Action, the AFFH rule that we took down, the Biden Obama era radical left policy. And basically, if you look at the map of America and you take a regional approach and you say, well, Chicago, Illinois and Dubuque, Iowa are the same, they have the same needs. Well, that's the federal government having a heavy mandate on localities. And so we tore down the AFFH rule to restore power, flexibility back to localities, back to states, because they understand what their unique needs are. And so without having burdensome regulations such as AFFH, we can increase supply, take the cost down. And so we're very excited to restore power back to localities that really save our suburban neighborhoods across America.
I mean, President Trump has been talking about lowering interest rates to give more people access to buying a home, getting a mortgage. Mortgage rates are all the way up there at 6.9%, Mr. Secretary. Is this something you've been looking at in terms of how to open up this opportunity for people who need the help in terms of a mortgage?
Yes, Maria. Well, you know, this is for the 7th week straight, mortgage rates are down, and the president talked about it in his interview with you. You know, President Trump from day one signed an executive order to decrease the cost of living and decrease the cost of housing in our country. And he, as you know, is the master negotiator. He is America First president, and his agenda is America First, including bringing down the cost of homes and bringing down interest rates and bringing down and getting rid of inflation so that the American people in rural, tribal, and urban communities across our country can realize the American dream as it pertains to home ownership. And so 77 million people, as you know, Maria, voted for this type of change, voted for this type of transition. And oftentimes, you know, transition is hard. Being uncomfortable is hard, but when you're uncomfortable, like the president stated, we're going through this time of transition, that brings growth. And we are laser focused, not only at HUD, but I know the president is, for the posterity of this nation. And so that includes bringing interest rates down and bringing the home affordability costs down and bringing supply up.
Well, Mr. Secretary, there's also the homelessness crisis in this country. What can you tell us about it? And you know, all that money that went to illegal immigrants, has that been cleaned up at this point? Can people have a true sense that they're actually getting a fair shot, that whatever money is available, they can actually have access as an American citizen?
Well, homelessness in our country right now is at an all-time high. The point in time report from HUD last December came out, and there's an 18% increase, Maria, in homelessness in our country right now. Wow. On one single night in January of 2024, over 770,000 people, including families, were homeless in our country. And as you know, at HUD, homelessness falls under our purview. And so this is a priority, top priority for us to work with nonprofits, to work with faith-based organizations in our country. And really, that's why I'm here in Asheville, to meet with leaders from nonprofits and leaders from faith-based that are actually doing the work as it pertains to homelessness, as it pertains to disaster recovery. And we have to do a better job in bringing in our faith-based partners, bringing in our nonprofit partners and private sector partners, because they have results day in and day out. The federal government is a great convener and a great partner, but the real solutions are here with people that have boots on the ground. And so, yes, to answer your questions, people in America can be rest assured and be confident that the president, this administration, I know in particular for us at HUD, we are laser focused on delivering the most critical, crucial programs to serve the people that we've been called to serve in this country.
Yeah, and I guess it's, and by the way, you're right about mortgage rates. Freddie Mac is reporting that mortgage rates are now down to 6.6%. So it's come down from the 6.9%. It's just been the last couple of weeks. You're absolutely right about that on the mortgage rate. This is an important part of a person's ability to buy their own home and take out a mortgage. So we're watching mortgage rates closely. But, Mr. Secretary, while you're also trying to reprioritize the money that folks have access to, you created a HUD DOGE task force to review how the agency is spending taxpayer money. Just one day after its launch, DOGE found $1.9 billion misplaced during the Biden administration. Quote, earmarked for the administration of financial services, but were no longer needed. You're canceling $4 million worth of DEI contracts. Tell us more.
Yes, ma'am. And so we did create a DOGE task force. We worked very closely with them, with our team at HUD, and they're a part of our team at HUD. You know, Maria, we want to be good stewards over taxpayer dollars. The American people work extremely hard. And I believe, just like I do on my own personal finances, my ministry, my business, and our team does, we want to make sure that every dollar that is spent, every dollar that is allocated from HUD, that it is deliberate and it is detailed. And so we're taking inventory of every program at HUD to make sure that we are appropriately, efficiently, and effectively serving the people at HUD that we've been called to serve. And so locating this $1.9 billion in taxpayer money now that has been de-obligated and returned back to the Treasury, that's money that can be used for other federal expenditures to serve the American people. $4 million that we found in DEI contracts. Well, Maria, DEI at HUD is dead. We will serve every American, no matter their color, their race, their tongue, their creed, because that's what we're called to do. And so in particular here at HUD, we're taking inventory so we can be the best we could be for America.
All right, Secretary, we're watching your work. It's important work. We appreciate your time this morning, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Secretary Scott Turner joining us this morning.